It's time for some Bachman talk. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Zach with Zacks Books, and today I have got for you my Richard Bachman author analysis video. I have finally read all 7 Bachman books. From Rage to Blaze, all of them. I have finally finished them, and it took me a couple months. It took me a while, over a year. It took me a long time to finally do it, but I finally did it. And today I've got for you a synopsis video talking about what each one's about, my ranking on them, and my thoughts and opinions. So we're going to get this started. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you like content like this, like analysis videos, give it a thumbs up, and we're going to get this started. For those of you who do not know, Richard Bachman is also Stephen King. Stephen King used this pen name way back in the 70s, 80s, and it took people, I think, up until the 3rd or 4th book that he wrote to finally catch on and figure out that he was Richard Bachman. At least to my knowledge that I have dug into, I have not known a reason why he decided to write under Bachman. If you do, let me know in the comments down below. If you've dug more into Bachman stuff, let me know if there's a reason why he did Bachman, because I don't remember. But he started this back in 1977 with his first book as Richard Bachman, Rage, which I'm going to show you in my Bachman book collection, because Rage is out of print. It's about a school shooting that takes place, and it's been pulled from the shelves since the 90s when a bunch of school shootings happen. It's, in my opinion, probably the rarest book you can find, in my opinion, but that's coming from a Stephen King fan. I'm sure there's other rare books that are impossible to find. But Rage, Richard Bachman, is probably the hardest book to find, in my opinion. So it's a really... this was the last one that I just read. As bad as the book actually is in terms of like the plot, like it's a bad idea, school shooting, the book is actually pretty solid in my opinion. I did enjoy it, as like bad as it sounds. It's like this is one of the most controversial books I feel like there is. And it's hard to say that you like this book knowing what has happened because of the book. But in terms of the story itself, it's a good story. I really like it. It's about a kid who is like abused at home, gets picked on, and he brings a gun to school, shoots his teacher, and he like holds the class hostage. And it's I mean, it's a good story. I really liked it. It's a good concept. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Definitely a book that, and the audiobook was impossible to find. I finally found it on YouTube, and it's actually pretty solid to hear. It's a pretty good book, audiobook to listen to. So I did really enjoy this book. That's his first book, which was in 1977, Rage. The second book he wrote under Richard Bachman was The Long Walk, which is the very first book that I read by Stephen King. I read this freely, no audiobook, and I absolutely loved the story. It's about a group of young men who go on this long walk to where the winner gets whatever they want. Literally, whatever you want, you can get it if you win. But it's like a walk to the death is basically what it is. So a group of 100 men go on this walk, and if you get 3 strikes, after the 3rd strike, something happens to you. I'm going to try not spoil this for you, but what I'm going to tell you probably will. There can only be one winner. So kind of put 2 and 2 together and figure that one out yourself. You follow one character specifically, Garrity, who is really a nice character. He's a good kid. And he kind of befriends a group of boys. I think he ends up with like maybe 10 to 12 that are like really close to him. And some of the things that happen in the book are really sad, depressing, and it's a really good book. I really love it. And it's number 5 in my all-time favorite Stephen King books. And I just absolutely love this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's a really good book. So there you have The Long Walk. Next one up is Road Work, which he wrote in 1981. So this is about a guy named Barton Dawes who works for this company that's getting closed down because they're putting a superhighway through his town. So his work gets closed, the whole town is getting like bulldozed so they can put this giant highway through it, and this guy will not leave. He is basically telling them to F off. This is my house, this is where I grew up, this is where I'm living, I'm not leaving. So at the beginning of the book he buys a bunch of guns, and basically it's like his descent into madness. His wife leaves him, he meets a whole bunch of people. There's this one girl that he meets that he talks to every now and again. The guy basically goes crazy. This is probably my second or third all-time favorite Bachman book, which like I said, I'm going to rank them all at the end, so you'll see my ranking for all of them. I really love this book. It's a great story. The ending is pretty solid too. I actually really love the ending of this book. So it's really cool. There you have Road Work. Next up is The Running Man, which he wrote in 1982. So a year after Road Work, he wrote this one. I really enjoyed this book. It's a cheesy Schwarzenegger movie that I have not seen yet, that actually does not follow this book like as much. It's kind of like if there was an award for like The Shining has Stanley Kubrick's version where it doesn't really follow the book, but it follows the book. This is the Bachman version. Does not follow the book, but it follows the book. Besides that, it's about a guy named Ben Richards who enters this, The Running Man, which is a TV program in like 2025. So basically in 4 years, this show is probably going to be on, where you survive. And there's a group of people that when you die, you lose. But if you are able to survive, I think it's a week. If you survive a week, then you win this like great award. You get all this money. He's got a sick daughter that he's trying to win this money for. And in the movie, I think he gets put in the show like forcibly. So there's like no daughter aspect in it at all. But in this, he needs the money to like help save his daughter's life. And so he enters the contest. A whole bunch of cool things happen in it. He meets a whole bunch of cool people. And the very end is a really cool ending, and I really love it. This is actually one of the more underrated Bachman books, in my opinion. But it is a good book, and I really enjoyed it. So there you have The Running Man. Next up is Thinner, which he wrote in 1984. So at this point, I feel like everybody knew that Stephen King was Richard Bachman. This is also a movie, which the movie actually follows this book pretty closely, unlike The Running Man. I love this book. It's really solid. It's about a guy named Billy. He's an attorney. He's this real fat guy. And what happens is while he's driving home from a dinner for work with his wife is giving him head, and he hits this gypsy woman. The husband ends up giving him a curse. And what happens is he gets thinner. So no matter what he eats, no matter how much he eats, he keeps losing weight. And he immediately is thinking that has to do with the gypsy. Everyone else is like, we got to do experiments on you. Like, what's going on? When you figure out what's going on, he's like, no, you idiots, it's because of this. And everyone's like, those don't exist. They're not real. Gypsy curses aren't real. And the other two people who get cursed, one of them turns into this weird, like, lumpy creature thing that ends up taking his own life, which I believe is the police chief. And the other guy is the judge who turns into this weird scaly like lizard thing. They get turned into it because they know that it's Billy's fault, but Billy, being the attorney he is, has got people on the inside that help him get away pretty much with just a slap on the wrist, if anything, when he hits this gypsy woman. So he basically gets away with nothing until the gypsy man comes up to him, touches his face, and says, "Thinner." And that's when everything starts happening. He starts gets smaller. And the ending is really creepy. It's got a solid storyline. I love the book. The movie's actually pretty cool too. I have not seen it for a few years. That's something I do need to look at again. But I really like this. And there you have Thinner. So where the first 5 books were separated by a span of about 7 years, from Thinner coming out in 1984 to the next one, The Regulators, this came out in 1996. So there's a big jump between the two books, you know, from Thinner to Regulators. This one is a companion novel to Desperation, which came out, I think, a year after this or a year before this, or it was the same year. I don't remember. But the hardcovers, if you connect them together, you get this really cool picture. So this came out actually the year I was born. This book, oh my goodness gracious. I definitely needed to read Desperation first. This book only got like 2.5 stars. Again, I'm going to rank them all at the end. Honestly, this book was so bizarre and weird to me, I honestly can't even really talk about it that much, just because I don't remember it that well. By what I understand is it's about another like kind of town in Ohio where Tack, which is the evil spirit in Desperation, comes to this town and pretty much does the same shit here. But the problem is I didn't know who Tack was at the beginning, which is why I keep saying I needed to read Desperation first. With me not reading Desperation first, that really kind of ruined the Regulators for me. So it only got 2.5 stars. That's all I really can talk about with this book until I reread it. It was not good to me because I didn't know anything about Tack or what he was about until I read Desperation. So, I mean, I'm sure it's a good book. When I reread all these books, it might rank higher, but I don't know. Was not the best for me, but yeah, Regulators. And then we come to Richard Bachman, book number 7, which is the final one, unless he's got another one hidden that he has not planned to release yet. This one came out in 2007, and it is called Blaze. This one is kind of like Of Mice and Men. There's a big, dopey guy named Clay, and then there's another smaller guy who's like the brains of this operation named George. Well, they end up stumbling across a baby, or at least Blaze does, because George ended up dying at some point. And Blaze, which is Clay, ends up stumbling across this baby, and what he does is he holds the baby ransom. He takes him from this family and is like planning to like get all this money for it. And it all goes to crap because Blaze is not smart. He is very dumb. And George is the brains of the operation, but Clay also is kind of like talking to him, like some spirit of George is still with him, and so like he still talks to him, and George like, you know, is the one who told him to do this, and Blaze messes it all up. And it's actually a pretty solid story. It's not as bad as I thought it was. When I first read it, after a little bit, I pondered it, and it was actually pretty solid. It was a good story. But yeah, it's pretty much all it is. It's kind of like Of Mice and Men. Just there's a baby involved, and George doesn't survive. So I really liked it. I do recommend it. It is the last book in the Bachman world series, whatever you want to call it. Unless he's got another one planned, but I really doubt it. But yeah, there you have Blaze. And now, time for me to rank the Bachman books for you guys. This is something I wanted to do since I started reading the Bachman books. It just took me forever to finally find Rage, an audiobook, to finally read it. Now that I have, here is my listing for Bachman's 1 through 7. Well, I'm going to do it in 7th place to 1st place, so it's going to be backwards. So, in 7th place, my least favorite Bachman book, as of right now, is The Regulators. Again, didn't understand it, didn't enjoy it. 7th place. In 6th place is Rage. Again, just because it's such a controversial book, I can't really rank this that much higher, but The Regulators was just worse than this one, so Rage, 6th place. In 5th place, I have Blaze. Again, Of Mice and Men, really good story, really sad. Really enjoyed it though. So, 5th place. In 4th place, I have The Running Man. This one is kind of like, it's in between. It's a good book, but it's also not as good as the other 3, so that's why it's kind of like middle grade. It is like literally the middle book. 4th place, The Running Man. 3 and 2 are kind of like tied. I'm kind of in between both of them because both of them are really solid stories, but for sake of this video, 3rd place is Thinner. I really enjoyed the book. really solid, but I think the next one just barely beats it out. Which, in second place, is Roadwork. Again, really solid story. Love the premise of it, love the thought of it. Second place is Roadwork. And my all-time favorite Richard Bachman book is The Long Walk. This was the very first book that I read in my Stephen King journey, and it has stuck with me ever since. Still in my top 5. Don't know if it's going to leave the top 5, which I've said that before, and it did for a little bit, but The Long Walk, my all-time favorite Richard Bachman book, and none of these are going to compare to it, ever. So, Richard Bachman, Long Walk, favorite all-time Bachman book. Alright guys, so that was my Richard Bachman analysis video. Again, I've read them all, and I'm finally done with it. What were some of your favorite Bachman books? Did you read all of them? Do you own them all? Let me know in the comments down below. What's your ranking? What's your favorite all-time Bachman book? Do you have an all-time favorite Bachman book? Again, Rage is controversial, so if you don't like that one, completely understand. I just had to rank it, but yes, very good video. I enjoyed doing this. I love Stephen King. Richard Bachman is the same guy. Love the stories. Very solid. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We will see you guys in the next video. Later.